fam? We're back. It's August. It's Leo season. We're going to take a look at this new moon and the subsequent moons, waxing quarter, full moon, waning quarter. And we'll look at the next new moon, which is also happening in Leo, late Leo. So we have 2 months of Leo. It's fully going to be Leo season, Leo time. Very interesting moons, and they both, this month, August 2021, and next month, September 2021. Both new moons make contact with Uranus in Aries. So it's going to be a time where we could be seeing some change around ourself, around our sense of personhood, around the way we creatively express ourselves, how we relate to ourselves, and the way we relate to others. So this new moon is taking place right on the Leo Cancer cusp, and I want to say it's about 1.5 degrees into the stars of Leo. So you can see that we're using the constellational boundaries here. And this is constellational or true sidereal astrology. Not only do Sun and Moon come together in Leo, but they're joined by Mercury, Mars, and Venus. These are the inner personal planets, and these are the planets of the self, or of the conscious experience of self, aka the ego. So we have the planets which form the ego, in one way of looking at them, in the stars which are most closely related to the ego. And it's Leo season. So creative self-expression, creative self-actualization, creative self-exploration. These are the methods, these are the buzzwords of Leo. But it's self. Leo is the self, and there's a bright side of that we're going to talk about, and there's a shadow side of that. And it's all going to be front and center this month because we have 5 planets in Leo. And the rest of everything is pretty well right where we left it. So the outer planets are where they have been for some months now. So we do have Uranus in Aries, Eris and Neptune at home in Pisces with Chiron. We have Jupiter in Aquarius, Saturn at home in Capricorn, and Pluto transiting Sagittarius. The nodes of the moon are on royal stars Antares, that's south node on Antares, and north node on Aldebaran. They're each about 1.5 degrees away, so well within the orb of influence. Collectively, we could be going through some just major karma, major transformation, more intense circumstances, more powerful circumstances. But we're going to take a look at all this just as it breaks down. So before I get into this and the very interesting arrangement of the stars and planets this month, I want to make note, Sun and Moon are conjoining here for the new moon on Alpha Ursa Major, fixed star Dubhe. And Dubhe is a northern star, and it's well off the ecliptic, and I hardly ever pay attention to these stars, but Dubhe is an interesting star in the way that it gives clues to help us tap into the strengths and the higher angels of Leo. It's very interesting, so I want to delve a little bit into the mythology of Dubhe. Alpha Ursa Major, fixed star Dubhe, is the brightest star in the constellation of the Great Bear, the bear that orbits the pole star. And it's a northern star, and according to Gertrude Jobs in her book Outer Space, the mythology, the sidereal mythology of the Great Bear goes, it dates back to the Babylonian creation epic, the Enuma Elish, which at that time, the understanding of the Great Bear, which was expressed, was already ancient. And it's always been understood, the Ursa Major, the stars of Ursa Major, in almost every star catalog since ancient times, this is a she-bear. This is the mama bear. This is the primordial goddess in her form as a bear. And it's always feminine, and it's always a bear. It really doesn't matter which angle you approach this from. So we talked about the Babylonian in the Vedic understanding, which is a tradition of similar antiquity. The 7 stars of Ursa Major were known as the 7 bears. And Dubhe was considered the cosmic source of the river Ganges. So it's a very mystical and powerful star from that point of view. The Ganges was a sacred river, and the mythology of it is very, very closely interwoven with the Shiva and the yogic traditions. But I don't want to get into that. For more information on that, you can read Hamlet's Mill. I know that the stars of the Great Bear are given some good report there. In North America, before European colonialization, the Blackfeet called it Pakuawa, and the Iroquois, the various Iroquois, called it Okuari, and both of those mean bear. So, in the Celtic tradition, the bear is Arth, and in the Celtic root word, Artos. And interestingly, that's where we get Arctic, meaning bears, and Antarctic, meaning no bears. It's also where we get Arthur, the name of the legendary Welsh king whose name meant wonderful bear. And Arthur, the sidereal mythology of the Round Table is the rotation of Ursa Major around the pole star. And the pole star was the Holy Grail, that still point in the heavens, that had achieved peace and wholeness, or holiness. And in Britain, the constellation of Ursa Major is still associated with King Arthur, Arthurian legend, the quest for the Holy Grail, and with the great goddess in all her forms, the sovereignty of women, and the perfection that the Grail symbolized. For those of you who are familiar with Grail myth, the sovereignty of women was a key point. We could go deeper and deeper, but suffice it to say, universally, in all known sidereal mythologies of antiquity, Dubhe is the brightest of stars of the primordial goddess in her form as a she-bear. Ptolemy understood Dubhe to be martial, violent, warlike. That was the influence he ascribed to it. Eberton says the star is nasty, Miss Jackson, and relates it to the destructive side of Mars. So there's a correlation there with Ptolemy's diagnosis. Rigor says it gives psychic abilities and the power to overcome one's enemies. But Bernadette Brady, who I generally defer to in matters of fixed stars, indicates an association with strong feminine powers, strength of the nature of intuition, flexibility, adaptability, insight, persistence, endurance, kind of gentle strength, real strength. Not the kind of strength that needs to prove anything, but the kind of strength that can really rest in its own security and stability. And this is similar to the 8th major arcana of the tarot, strength, which is in the Rider-Waite-Smith depiction, a woman with her hand on the head of a beast, of a lion, sort of taming it, that kind of strength. Not the strength that's overcoming or subduing or putting it in a cage or clubbing it to death, but actually the strength that can actually calm and subdue. So very similar, this eighth tarot, and I know it's the 11th in some decks, and we're not going to go there today. But Dubhe and Ursa Major seem to correlate to the journey to master and hold our own strength in a dignified way, in a way that the primordial goddess would smile on, and such as in a way of a ruler like King Arthur, who sought to understand that the holy power of the Grail serves all. And I think if a person isn't able to hold or cultivate that kind of strength, that Dubhe can be destructive and has a terrible side, much like a mama bear. It's not something to trifle with or mess with. It's rather powerful. So here we are. And I mentioned that Dubhe and Leo are a little bit connected, that Dubhe could give clues to how to navigate Leo's energy. And that idea of strength, of taming the beast, is one of them. Before we talk at length about Leo, I want to say we are on the Cancer cusp, and I want to give some voice to the idea that this moon's going to have flavor of a Cancerian nature, and the journey of Cancer is most easily summed up in the idea of, especially on the Cancer-Leo cusp. So we're like finishing up Cancer and we've entered Leo. This is about providing ourselves with our own emotional security. This is about coming to find that inhering source of nourishment and you could say strength, because we're bringing this into Leo. You could say that we're finding our inner radiance here in order to be of service to others. And usually the Cancerian journey is a journey of being of service to everyone else, sort of burning out and realizing, oh, I've got to take care of myself. So we're bringing that sort of late stage energy of Cancer, where we've kind of had the opportunity to really get that and learn that lesson into the blend with early stage Leo energy. So once we found our inner radiance and we've become our own sense, become to develop our own sense of inner security, emotional security, and strength there, what do we do with it? Well, that's the journey of Leo, how we express ourselves. Like I said, creative self-expression, creative self-actualization, creativity, personhood, ego exploration. Who am I? This is Leo, and we have lots of Leo this month. We really have a very interesting configuration with all the personal planets there. So what is Leo? It's very bright. This is the stars associated with our star, the sun. And Leo is creativity. Leo is the self. Leo is actualization. This is why I say creative self-actualization is the main idea. Leo is purpose. Leo is a ruler. Leo's the boss. It's fame, it's special recognition, it's an artist, and it's the arts. Leo is grandiose and generous, a very magnanimous influence, and it likes to be noticed for it. But it likes to be noticed for anything, really. It loves approval, applause. It's kind of exhibitionist, and it loves power. Leo loves power. So what is the shadow side, then, of Leo? It's kind of self-absorbed. Leo gets full of itself. Leo is narcissistic when insecure. Leo's a little bit of a gambler. It takes risks, and it correlates with affairs and adultery. That's a Sun Leo 5th house activity. In other words, the shadow side of Leo is being selfish instead of honoring our responsibilities. It's egocentric, and it's subject to delusions of grandeur. So Sun and Moon are in opposition to Saturn for this new moon. And Saturn is at home in Capricorn, really, really very strong. So we have an interesting situation where Saturn in Capricorn is a disciplinarian, and Sun in Leo is usually either a king or an artist, or in some way sort of a could be an actor, a dramatic type, could be a big personality. And Saturn in Capricorn is really very reserved, very much of a mind to take us to task, to temper to curb our enthusiasm. And with Leo, Sun, and Capricorn, Saturn in opposition, we can definitely expect that anywhere we're not honoring our responsibilities is going to be challenged and called out. And this new moon template is going to be setting the stage for the whole cycle, the entire lunation. That's why I spend extra time on the new moon relative to the time I spend on the other phases. Because this is the seed, and this is the stamp of the whole thing. So we have Saturn, and it's going to be pushing back on, and it's going to be opposing any kind of self-indulgence, any kind of narcissistic, egocentric, anything that's like frivolous in that regard. We can really expect to attract resistance to. So the Leo energy is raised, it's up, but it's also, there's the energy of opposition to it, very strong. And as you can see, this opposition is T-squared by the Aries Uranus. And when Sun and Moon square Uranus, there's really, well, the first thing that can happen is that any opposition that's occurring placed by Saturn upon the luminaries, in other words, any kind of authoritarian or stern or energy that may be corrective, energy that may be restrictive, energy that may be, like I said, demanding that we curb our enthusiasm, that's placed on the conscious expression of self, Sun, Moon, consciousness, Leo, expression of self. Any kind of difficulty we have there is going to be, and this might not be easy because of the nature of the relationship is in the form of the square, which correlates to obstacles. But it's going to represent an opportunity. It's going to correlate with an opportunity to change Uranus, ourselves, Aries and Leo, and it's going to correlate with the opportunity to initiate new cycles of self, the way we understand and relate to ourselves, the way we express ourselves, the way we are in the world relative to Saturn, the way we are, but really just simply the way we are. I mean, we're in the world. We don't have anywhere else to be. But Aries and Leo are like very core, primitive impulses of just self. Like I want something, I'm gonna go get it. That kind of energy. So we can change the way we're relating to all that. Uranus, for all its anxiety and all its sort of nervous energy, especially with the square, this is going to be some restless, impulsive energy. We really might be able to change ourselves and sort of develop like next level ways of looking at ourselves. That's what Uranus is best for. This relationship to Uranus also relates to next month's new moon, which we'll cover at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. both this month and next month make new moon makes aspect to Uranus, and next month is very interesting. So we're in for some change. Uranus will remain in Aries both those months, so we're looking at change around the nature of our core sense of self, our inner sense of personhood, that sort of thing. The sun and moon also make aspect to Chiron in Pisces, and this often correlates with a healing time, or a time. Pisces brings a very peaceful spiritual energy. Chiron is literally our healing journey, even from the most difficult early wounds and traumas we may have carried all our life. And so this change in relation to our personhood that is going to correlate with Uranus new moon contact. We also have the assist, the blessing of an easy relationship here, the trine, with a planet of healing. So it could be a time to look at ourselves in that light, even though healing isn't always easy, it's not always comfortable. It's always freeing. It's always good to do that work. So those are the relationships that new moon is making. I always talk about the dispositor. In this case, the sun is at home, so there's no other dispositor of new moon. This is one of the reasons that this moon, and while the sun is transiting Leo, that this will be a very powerful time, a very powerful lunar cycle, and this moon will be very powerful. So we have, like I said, sun at home opposing Saturn at home, and this could really set up some very powerful dynamics if we're willing to find the balance between our radiating side and our contracting side. The sun being our radiance, and Saturn being the force of reservation, discipline, control, contraction. Another interesting thing about this Leo energy and this configuration of the inner planets is the natural square that Leo makes to Taurus and to Scorpio Ophiuchus, which I read as very interwoven, interrelated signs, Scorpio and Ophiuchus. But we have Antares, the heart of the Scorpion, fixed star Antares. And we have Aldebaran, the bullseye. And these stars are activating the nodes. Now, they are forming a pretty precise square to Mars, but it's really the natural square. The natural square. Taurus and Leo and Scorpio and Leo will always naturally square, just like Taurus and Scorpio will always naturally oppose. So we have the energy here of the nature of the square, and the square usually reflects obstacles that are nobody's fault in particular. But with the power of the nodes and the power of those fixed stars, I really want to caution everyone. The royal stars are where the nodes have been for. They've been in that vicinity for at least the last month or two. But it's a very dynamic situation that we're looking at here, and these are fixed stars. So there could be like very much entrenched and stubborn thinking around some of these patterns that may really be asking actually for the nature of change, of growth, of healing, of evolution. And then we have the rest of the planets, which are all on the other side of the chart here. And if you notice, the inner planets are all direct. They're in direct motion. And Uranus goes retro this cycle, but Uranus is direct for the new moon. And everything else is in retrograde motion. We have Eris, Chiron, Neptune, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto. And they're forming this strange formation with the personal planets. And you know, it's an interesting, one of the interesting things is that the only two trines and the only two sextiles here, well, there are three sextiles, so the only two trines and three sextiles, the soft aspects, all involve malefics. There's no the benefics, the benefic Jupiter is here, but is only making oppositions, or it's sextile to Eris, planet of chaos and projection and inner strife, discord, civil war. So another thing that's pretty major about this new moon, and this will color this lunar cycle, is that Eris and Pluto are very close to their fourth contact, and they will make that contact around the time of the waning quarter moon. So this was a major signifier of the pandemic and reached its peak in January of 2021, coinciding largely due to Pluto being near its own return in the United States chart. But this coincided with the sort of civil war vibe of Eris, with the change and transformation of the United States. Of course, this is affecting everybody worldwide, but Pluto and Eris coming back into close contact. Their first contact coincided with the emergence of COVID-19. And I'm not going to go fully into the patterns of Pluto and Eris because I've done that in past videos. I want to reference you to my January 2021 video in which I detail the history, the recent history and relevant points regarding Pluto and Eris' cycle, their planetary cycle. Some less major, or shall we say minor. Some are in between less major and fully minor. Things that are happening are Mercury is opposing Jupiter. And Jupiter oppositions always tend to kind of give us too much of something. You've got to push things too far. So with Mercury here, we could be thinking about ourselves, maybe, you know, too much. We could be talking about ourselves, Leo, too much, Jupiter opposition. So we can be aware of that, and we can just naturally watch that impulse and hopefully learn from it. Venus is opposed to Neptune, and Venus and Neptune get along very well. They're very resonant with each other. Venus and Neptune oppose from late Leo, early Pisces, which is a very artistic, two very artistic signs that really harmonize well together. Pisces is our inspiration, and Leo is our creativity. So when Pluto and Venus get together, this is very, very inspired by higher principles, very open-heartedness, very, very bodhicitta, very, very universal love, very awakened. So, you know, if you're an artist, you may feel this whole cycle, and especially around the time of the new moon, that those are energies that could inspire or tap, that you could tap into. So just to sum all that up in a brief and hopefully helpful way, we might feel quite special about ourselves this lunar cycle. That's really easy to understand. We might feel special about our life, our purpose, but it's likely to receive some pushback, some tempering. We're likely to be asked to sort of shave off the excess, and to maybe lose some of those things that don't serve us around those themes. And it's opposed. The whole conscious experience here is somewhat opposed by the outer planets. And the outer planets manifest as the outer world of society and reality, but also as the deep inner world of the sub and unconscious. So there may be, and this correlates with the Uranus Sun Moon square, there may be just some nervousness, some anxiety, some feelings of restlessness that have to do with something just feeling off or not right. And, you know, for those of you who are really used to kind of trusting your intuition, and that feeling arises, but you can't put your finger on it, and it may be very frustrating, like, am I missing something? Is something wrong? Is something going on that I should know about? Yeah, I mean, you know, not necessarily. That's going to be an energy that kind of colors this month. We have all the direct inner planets in this somewhat challenging configuration with all the retrograde outer planets, and it's not necessarily a recipe for ease and delight unless you're up for the challenge and can really gather the discipline, Saturn in Capricorn, to bring to bear on all of the energies of creative self-expression. So I think that's the new moon in essence. And I'd like to move on to the waxing quarter. And the first thing I notice about the waxing quarter moon as it transits Libra is that it meets opposition from Uranus. So often when planets square a new moon, they become part of the major action points of the whole cycle. But another thing I notice is that the Sun has moved into degree of opposition with Jupiter in Aquarius. So we have Uranus, ruler of Aquarius, opposing Moon, and Jupiter from Aquarius opposing Sun. And these are benefics. They do tend to enhance and bring out the better qualities of and give blessings. But the energy of Aquarius and Uranus is like sudden and stressful, and it's the energy of change. It's stressful because change is stressful. And Uranus is sudden and unpredictable and vivid, and it just comes to bring change, to bring rebelliousness and revolution to a scenario. It just inserts that into it somewhat chaotically, often disruptively. And so as this cycle starts to emerge, as the sort of expression and logic of the cycle begin to show with this waxing quarter moon, we may expect some dynamic expressions of tension, of change, of the chaos of upheaval, of the nature of excitement, eccentricity. Uranus is just weird. It's revolutionary and rebellious, and we might see some of this. Uprising, and we may see this in relation to the Pluto Eris square as it approaches perfection. The moon is sextile to Pluto, and the sun is trine to Eris. So, as they gear up for that contact, we may be dealing with some of those more potent energies. Those are going to be some of the most potent energies at play during this whole cycle. And the fourth contact that Pluto and Eris will make, I think on the 21st of August, but the fourth contact that they'll make is going to be the beginning of the end, and it's going to so the fifth contact will be in November. And the fourth contact, this beginning of the end, will be kind of like integrating just 2020. We'll really be challenged to kind of like get our heads around what just happened to us. And just the whole thing. What does it mean? What does it mean for the future? What does it imply? Beginning to internalize it and learn the lessons of it. And at the time of this waxing quarter moon from graceful Libra, we'll be trining Neptune, who sits at home in her own stars of Pisces. So this could be a very intuitive time. It could be a sensitive time. There could be emotional vulnerability here, or maybe psychic intuition, maybe dreams could be very powerful. But it's going to be time when the volatile nature of Pluto squared to Eris and the volatile nature of Uranus and Jupiter from Aquarius opposing Sun and Moon could really strike a sensitive nerve. And again, this all ties back to the Leo thing. This is really all about. This cycle is really all about, at a core level, it's about transforming our self, our personhood. More so than life usually is about transforming ourselves. So collectively, we're looking at a process of the ego self being put in contact with the soul, Pluto, and the spirit, Neptune. And for some of us, that can be a breath of fresh air. Like I said, for those people who are willing to do the work, this could be a really fantastically productive lunar cycle. But for others of us, it may feel like we're having our noses maybe rubbed in our own shit. Especially with all of this sort of change that Uranus and Eris, Pluto just portend. These are planets, all of which are activated during this cycle of like very dynamic energy, the kind of energy that will sweep through and just turn things on their head, change, unexpected, unannounced change is going to be the order of the day when these planets are highly activated. So looking at the full moon now, we do have a nice full moon in the stars of Aquarius, conjoined to Jupiter, and all of this is reflecting the light of a sun on fixed star Regulus. So let's break that down. If we've been paying attention to the energy of the cycle and the things that are happening in our life and what's being asked for, and if we're offering that and following those cues, I think this cycle has the potential for tremendous blessing. The energies of Aquarius will transform. They'll change something. And Sun on Regulus in Leo, well, what ends up changing is the self. Now, Regulus is the king. Regulus is the ruler. Regulus is the boss. And Uranus and Aquarius have this energy of, it's very aloof. It's very detached. It does not take itself as seriously as Sun on Regulus or Sun in Leo generally takes itself. So when the Aquarius and the Leo get together, the way to harmonize that opposition and balance that is always through self-expression. Like Aquarius will always challenge Leo to go deeper into really who am I at my weirdest, like at my most individual, my most unique. Who is this person? But it will also tend to cut down, to temper the self-importance of Leo. So by exploring ourselves, expressing ourselves, actualizing ourselves without taking ourselves too seriously. That could be the blessing of this combination. Opposition to Jupiter, as mentioned, tends to bring out too much, and Sun on Regulus can be love the spotlight. It can be a showboat. It can be bossy. It can be just insecure and need to be in charge. It can't give up to a collective sort of consensus. It has to always hold the reins. And I think what we can bring to that from Moon Jupiter is a sense of just sort of relaxed ease around that. Uranus is the collective, so we can challenge ourselves to step beyond. I said Uranus, I meant Aquarius, but Aquarius reflects groups, associations, the collective, society broadly. And we can challenge ourselves to step beyond our own bounds here, beyond the bounds of our own, kind of the cage of our own personhood, when it is a cage, when we're trapped in it and can't step out. It can also help us step out in vivid, eccentric ways. So, very cool full moon signature here. Leo and Aquarius, what they have in common is that they both resonate with individuality. They both resonate with individuality, but Leo gets self-absorbed while Aquarius remains aloof and impersonal. And then the way they're opposite is sort of like Leo is the one that wants to be mentioned for getting the best grade on a project or something, and Aquarius is just too cool for school anyway. Wasn't even there, was skipping class and probably doing something more interesting. So yeah, you do have this sense of balance and need to bring these disharmonious energies into flush, into to merge them and reconcile that paradox. Whenever we have Regulus activated, there's always power given. And at this time, at the time of the full moon and around the 22nd of August, when Regulus will be activated, it's very important not to seek revenge, because Regulus is well known for giving power, but that power will be pushed back on, and the power will create for a person. The power that Regulus gives will create for a person enemies. And if a person who's under the influence of Regulus takes revenge on their enemies, they can lose the power that Regulus gives. So Regulus comes with like this test. It's like, sure, here's power. Are you ready for it? So at this time, whenever Regulus is activated, and at this time, revenge of any kind is very poorly advised, and the idea would be that you could lose what had been gained, or that any gains that had come out of this lunar cycle alone, anything that seemed possible in the realm of change and growth, could be lost, could be compromised very easily if we stoop to that level. And I say this especially because Sun and Saturn at the new moon really indicate like this is a clash of totally opposite energies: the light and the darkness, the star and the shadow. It's a situation that's rich with the potential for resentment and anger against another body, another person, another entity. That would be indicated by Sun-Saturn opposition. So, as always, when Regulus is involved, the test is to take the high road. The test is one of forgiveness. You can have really powerful. You can have power. But that power comes with like strings attached. And now taking a look at the waning quarter, and we see this is the opportunity we have to bring things into a sort of resting, kind of appreciation phase, kind of enjoying from the full moon, enjoying that harvest and the fruits of it. And then we'll start to make way for the next new moon. And here at this point in the cycle, the waning quarter moon, Pluto and Eris are separating now. They just perfected. So we have an incredibly close to 1 minute Pluto-Eris relationship. And we have the moon on Aldebaran, or very near Aldebaran with the north node. And it's grounded in Taurus, and it's grounded by proximity to Aldebaran, and it's in trine with Saturn in Capricorn, which is both exceedingly grounded set of stars, a very grounded set of circumstances. So this is really a great time to take stock and to look back over the cycle and see anywhere we might have been challenged by Saturn, right? Because we've talked about this several times, the Saturn significance in this cycle, opposing sun-moon for the new moon. And we can integrate this into how we'll move forward in life, North Node, how will we move forward? By sitting and grounded, resting retrospection and cultivating that good earthy discipline. And Chiron makes harmonious aspects to Moon Saturn. So there's the assist here, the potential to heal anything that may arise around resentments to the forces that do temper us. Say curb your enthusiasm, chill out, don't get excited. You know, all that Saturn stuff. Anywhere we may have felt like, no, I wanna express myself. I really wanna do this thing, but I can't. We can make our peace with that, especially at the time of 30th of August and the waning quarter moon. So any difficulties that did arise with this Moon, Chiron, Saturn formation, I want to say, even if there was pushback on our feelings of specialness, our feelings of entitlement, or some hidden stuff came up we didn't even know we had in there, just around all that Leo, relating to all that energy in Leo. If that came up, if hidden stuff came up and then we got, sort of smacked down, this cycle is giving us the opportunity to integrate those lessons in a grounded way, which means in a bodily way, which means we can internalize it. We can really get it. Not just think it and be like, oh, okay, that thought makes sense, but to bring it home into our bodies. Mercury has entered Virgo, so discriminating awareness and the wisdom of that is at its peak, and it's connected with Neptune. So intuition and Neptune in Pisces, opposite Mercury in Virgo, are two planets at home in their own stars, very strong, and this could give a very nice right brain, left brain balance where our logic and our intuition are talking to each other. And the downside of that is that depending on your connectivity, your right brain, left brain connectivity, and how much you've cultivated the bridge, if you will, between your heart and your mind, your heart and your brain. These two can be confused or even against each other. They can be fighting each other. For some of us who've done that work, they can be powerfully connected, and we can really, at the time of the last quarter moon, what I'm trying to say, I think, is that even if the cycle was difficult, challenging, full of obstacles, we're going to have a chance to really get it, to really bring it home and learn those lessons. And we aren't going to necessarily have to wait a long time for the opportunity to experience energies which support that, to really ground this in our knowing. And as we wind down, moving toward the next new moon, beginning to make space for this coming September 6th new moon. That'll happen in late Leo, and it'll carry us through into Virgo season with Mercury at home. And I want to call your attention to one chart feature, this sweet trine to Uranus, which is absolutely perfected, just as the new moon is perfecting. So that's very interesting. August 8th, early Leo new moon on fixed star Dubhe, we're squaring Uranus. September 6th, late Leo new moon, and it looks like a perfect trine to Uranus. So the energies of change are going to be interwoven here, Uranus, with the energies of self, Leo. So this could be a time for transformation of a personal nature, and that's really never comfortable. Let's be honest. Change is stressful. That's how that goes. And you know what's going to be at its peak is the energies of rebellion, revolution, individuality, individuation, friggin' anarchy, all this Uranian stuff, all this good Uranus activity, change, catalytic activity, explosive catalytic activity is just going to be with us with an Aries Leo trine, and it's going to regard self-image, ego, our urges, our needs, our desires. So this whole cycle from start to finish, starting August 8th and ending September 6th, will take place with the sun in the stars of Leo. We'll look more at this as September 6th approaches, for that next new moon, and I'll see you then for that report, my friends. If you liked this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up or subscribe. You can join us on Facebook in a group called Sidereal Revolution, if true sidereal astrology interests you and you would like to connect with a community of practitioners and interested people, like-minded folks. I think that's all for this month, my friends. So thank you, as always, and goodbye.